Buongiorno e benvenuti. Welcome to Art Yoga Pills with me, your host, Binny. In this space, we will connect and share together about creativity, inner child, and self-awareness. Siete pronti? Enjoy! Ciao a tutti, kia ora and welcome to a new episode of Art Yoga Pills. Today I'm not alone. I have a special guest with me, Alyse Young. How are you, Alyse?
Good morning. Thank you, Denny, for inviting me. I'm happy to be here to be able to share and perhaps give a bit of perspective on how I live my life and encourage people to reach more deeply into their soul and their magic in this lifetime. So, yeah, thank you. This is a great opportunity for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice, for being here with me. And I know that many people might not know you yet. So I wonder if you wish to share a little bit more of who Alice is, either professionally or personally, or mix the both together as you wish.
Okay, so I'm Alyse Young. I'm a first generation New Zealand Kiwi, and I have been doing energy work for over 30 years now. And so my gift and specialty, if you like, is I am a shaman as well as a inner child facilitator, as well as a multidimensional facilitator as well. And those are the things that I really enjoy and focus on, is helping people to come into their own soul being so that they can live their life more purposely here on earth. And for me, it has been that journey when I turned about 31, was about 31. So it's been a long journey, but a really exciting, beautiful, magical journey. And it is my mission and purpose to help people to understand about grounding their energy, which means to embody their energy, because then they're in a much better place of being able to create, because we're now living in what we call creator energy. And the inner child work is symbolic of being able to work with your energy in terms of coming back to your true feelings and expressing from that space of your true feelings. And to me, the inner child work is modern day shamanism. So this is what I've come to discover. It was through learning about energy, interpreting energy. I had 4 years training with my teacher. My inner shaman came through quite naturally. And and so for me, working with energy is basically just communicating with the feelings of the energy in the space, whether it's a person, spirit, tree, land, the universe. And we all have this knowledge, but we're just not aware of it. We're not so in touch with it. So for me, it's like bringing this language forward now, because it is an innate part of our being. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alice, for this brief introduction. I know there is way more to discover about you than this limited time that we have. And maybe before to go deeper in what some of your offerings are, I would like to go back a little bit to where you start your journey. You mentioned that at 31 you started your path in the journey that you are right now, and I wonder how that started for you. What was the initiation for you, which was the starting point to transform your life with what you were used to where you are now?
Sure. Yeah, my journey was a rude awakening. And as I mentioned, I'm first generation Chinese Kiwi. So my upbringing was quite traditional, conservative. And so at the age of 31, I was at the point of thinking about starting a family. But the whole idea actually scared me when I realized I had a lot of trauma that I had not dealt with. And there was the real fear of becoming the mother that I experienced. And I did not want to be that for a child. So without even consciously knowing that's what I was doing, I set myself on this journey of rediscovering who I am. And as I said, it was a rude awakening. I did not realize that I was a super sensitive person, and I could feel energy very acutely. And it was through an experience, and it was all perfect. It was catalytic, because at the time I was married, but I was also having what I call energetic projections and experience through with another person. And it was very real and very present in my space. And this was really disturbing to me. So I sort of put up with it for about 2 years. And then finally I confronted the person and expressed, what I was sensing. And this person actually agreed. And then he said, I think you need help. And that was the key, actually, because I really needed help, because it was very, very confusing for me. And that was the point, actually, where I met my teacher. I met her very early on, and I can see that in my soul purpose, I was fast-tracked. And she taught me how to sense, feel, interpret, and understand energy as pure energy, as feelings. And that's where I learned about the inner child. So the inner child is symbolic. As you know, when we see children in trouble as adults, we naturally want to help them. And so that was the whole exercise, or the whole point of the inner child work. It's not so much thinking of yourself as a small child, but understanding that there is a trapped child within you that is holding trauma and feelings, unexpressed feelings. And all you're doing now is creating the space where you are witnessing your own pain, your own trauma, but you're coming from the adult, the rational, and from the unconditional space and compassionate space, hopefully, to be able to actually embrace and to receive that trauma that has already been. Because when you don't embrace that trauma, the feelings, that's what we're really talking about, the feelings. If you don't embrace those feelings to transform them, you will continue to project them in your life. And so for many people, they're trying to understand these patterns of dysfunction in their lives. And it always comes from that place of that small child within you. It's like that is the starting point of where your stunted growth was. And because we're never, ever supposed to relive our trauma or hurts, but many people do. And that's because of the separation. And so that's why I say the inner child is modern day shamanism, because all you're doing is bringing back that energy to become a continuum in your energy flow, in your creations. And yeah, so I did the inner child work for 4 years, which was basically my own journey of healing. And then Spirit made me go and live in Australia for 9 years. Well, then, yeah. So I was quite a different person after the 4 years, where my friends and family didn't recognize or accept the true being that I was coming into. And so that made it really, really difficult for me to be in the space with them at that time, and also a very lonely place. So Spirit sent me to Australia. Even though I didn't want to go, I realized it was a blessing, because when I was in Australia, because I didn't know the people there, I could just be myself. And that was really my journey into sovereignty, because all the things that I had learned and was trying to live in New Zealand, I was now free to play with that in Australia. And so I started out working in corporate and continued for about 8 months until I went on a journey with Wayne Dyer to Peru. And it was there that Jesus appeared and gave me the message that I needed to start this healing work now. And it was quite interesting, because at the time when I saw Jesus, I just thought everyone else could see him, because it was as clear as day. But I'm not a religious person either, so I didn't really take notice. Even though I saw him very clearly, I didn't really take notice. So once I actually started the healing healing work. It was all word of mouth, and 3 people at different stages brought me pictures of Jesus. And it was like he was trying to get a message to me to say that he was my guide. So I found that quite fascinating. And the last message hit home when I met a Jewish woman and we did a trade, and she was really excited and giggling and, you know, carrying on. And afterwards she said to me, she said, do you know, Alyse, that I'm Jewish? And I go, yeah, I know that. And she said, well, there's someone here that really wants to meet you, and it's Jesus. He's here with you right now, and he wants you to understand that he's your guide, and he has a healing team, and he wants you to know that you can call on him. And if you know, and so I just sort of listened, and I didn't really respond. And then after that session, I went and saw my friend who's very clairvoyant, and I relayed the whole experience to her. And she was very quiet. And at the time I thought, oh, okay, this is probably a little joke. And then she said to me very seriously, she said, Alyse, believe everything that she said. And I thought, wow, okay. So then I realized I have an ally. I have support and guides, you know, that actually are walking alongside me. And so that was really my journey of just understanding and trusting and just letting go. And not to say it was easy in the first, you know, in the first 9 years. That was actually quite a hard road, because I realized that in Melbourne, that really was my space to do deeper healing, but it also introduced me to the multidimensional sides of myself. And so as we become more and more connected to our soul, we're actually opening up that space for the multidimensionality of our beings to really open up. So I was having these multidimensional experiences, but it was really difficult because I didn't have anyone to really share that with. There was probably a handful of people, but I could still sense that they were very much keeping it to themselves. Whereas I've always come from the place that I'm just going to share the information. And a lot of my spiritual friends back in Melbourne would say to me, oh, we don't talk about that. And I would say to them, why not? And they'd say, oh, because they don't understand. And I said, well, that's true. I said, if you share the information, then they will understand. Otherwise, they're going to go away making things up, which is, you know, essentially what people do. They make things up, whether it's true or not. So I said, you're better off coming from a place of your experience and your truth, you know. So then they can see and understand that this is actually real, and maybe it's happening for them, but they've never had the opportunity to discuss it with anybody. And that's what I've always found. I've never really held back. And so then it was after 9 years of living in Melbourne, 3 years prior, I got the call to go to live in the United States. And for me, that was a really scary thing to do. So I resisted for 3 years and ended up with frozen shoulder, to the point where I could barely lift my arms. And I realized that I was actually creating a disease in my own body because of my own resistance. And so when it became so bad, I just got frustrated one day, and I just said okay, if this is my destiny, I'm just going to say yes. And I surrendered, because within those 3 years, I was trying to figure out, how am I going to live there? And of course I couldn't, because I had no idea how it was going to be done, you know. And but once I surrendered, my frozen shoulder came free after about 3 days. Everything returned to normal. And then all the doors just started opening up, just spontaneously. So it was a really beautiful journey of actually ease and grace once I let go. And then I realized and ended up living in Kauai for 5 years. And I realized that Kauai was my real initiation to the multidimensional life. And so for about 3 of those years, I lived in the forest, in a valley in Kauai. And so I lived in a tent, cooked on fire, gathered food, and just played with the multidimensional magical aspects of my being and everyone else in the space. And it was really a beautiful time of allowing me to really experience and to confirm those experiences that I was having. And from that space, I started to really share more and more about the multidimensional. I was realizing this is now coming online, and part of my mission is to support those souls who are already online. And this is what I would find, is that people would just find me, have conversations with me. And, I might even just say one line, and then they would say something like, I really needed to hear that. And I said, yeah, that's why I'm saying this to you right now. And that was enough. Sometimes that was enough. And I realized that this is part of my role here right now, is to help people to feel safe and supported in their own expansion. Because we're living in a very, very different time. We're moving away from 3-dimensional. We are already in 5th-dimensional energy plus. And it all comes back to you knowing how to really respond from that place of your energy, which is your feelings, your expression, your vision. And it's understanding that this journey is very sovereign, meaning to really be committed and to understand that your dreams are supported, because it is a collaboration with the universe. We don't have to figure it out, but what we need to do is the alignment. So, in the work that I share with people, it's helping them to understand their intentions and then to do the alignment work. The alignment work is matching your energy to your intention through your feelings. And by doing so, then you're just allowing. And then the next step is the allowing and the surrender for the magic to show up. And in most cases, it can be very quick. The only reason why it's not quick is because there's resistance along the way. And, it's understanding that this life is a journey. We're learning to read our compass. We're learning to really point our compass in the direction that we need to go. And I see so many people trying to figure it all out before they take the step forward. And in the last shamanic journey that I had, I was shown this cartoon of a young person moving onto the paper, if you like, or canvas. And it was really bare. And I thought to myself, well, what's going on here? And this young person was in deep thought, but also a little bit of apprehension. But once they started to walk forward, the canvas started to, the picture of the canvas started to fill. And then as soon as the person stopped, the canvas, became blank again. And so every time this person took the step forward, the canvas would light up. So what it was showing me is that we are very much in creator energy. And it is about being present to the creations that we're putting forward. And once we take that step forward, everything will come in to assist us. So we cannot actually know the future because we're still actually creating it from this moment here. And this is why to set goals 5 years ahead is probably not really that useful. I mean, it's good to have an intention of this is where you want to be and this is how you want to live. But in the meantime, the journey is all about your alignment, because often good things show up, but if you're not in that frequency of sensing it, then you will completely miss it. And so you can only really receive what is in front of you if you're open to it. So it means that your frequencies are matching your vision. And for most people, they're not at that space yet. And it doesn't mean that you won't get there, but you have to do the alignment work, which is what we talk about, the shadow. And the shadow work is not nearly as scary as people make it. It's really about giving that stunted place in your consciousness a new perspective, because you've actually gone beyond that place, but your energy is not connected to it. So it's like just plugging in again and just letting that energy flow forward with you, with the new understanding, with the new consciousness. But otherwise, this energy is just sitting out in the abyss, manifesting the same, a little bit different. That's the way I'll explain it. Yeah, and so for me, it's like the inner child work has been very much the basis of my work, but also the shamanic side. And I offer shamanic journeys because to me, this is a really quick, but also powerful way for people to reconnect to their soul, but also to their multidimensional bodies. Because when they do the shamanic journeys, they are having a multidimensional experience, whether they understand that or not. And they are already having these experiences, but because they have no one to express it to, they don't really understand what is happening. And so that's where I just filled the gap there, is to help them to understand this is what you're experiencing and this is actually what it means for you. And then that all makes sense in their life, because we're always given nudges through spirit of how to move, how to be, but we ignore them because we're in this linear way of thinking. We're in the conditioning of what we were given as we were small people, so it's really understanding we do have a choice. Really, it was at the age of 31 when someone said to me, you have a choice. And it just hit me like a brick, because I grew up hearing from my mum that we have no choices. And for me, the earlier part of my life was just being a good person. Love was not even factored into that. It was like, just be a good person. Love doesn't exist. Just be a good person. that's a cultural thing, and it's been a long journey for me, but anyway, I'm getting there.
Wow, thank you, Alyse, for sharing. I had several moments where I felt like goosebump. I could relate it with several experience of your life, and I know that we all have different paths, but even just like the resonance that my body was experiencing was quite interesting, and I hope that even our listener got inspiration for what you shared so far. One of my question, based actually on your personal experience, but also on the potential journey that someone might want to begin for themselves or even keep on doing on themselves, is that in your one, I find it quite fascinating that you started sort of from the roots, so from the inner child, and so healing the trauma to then arrive to the multidimensional experience, which to me is like the connection with the universe, the connection with nature, and kind of like a journey through the chakras for those who are familiar with chakras. And I wonder if there is a suggestion that you might have in terms of if there is a certain way of following our step in life to our journey that goes from the roots to the multidimensional experiences that we might have, or it's like a random journey that comes as it comes, and we need to enjoy it and experiences with the up and down, with challenges, with achievement and everything that life has to give us. Because I had an experience with you, I did a session one-on-one with the inner child, and I know that I was already on my journey, and it felt like that was not truly linear. Maybe I was a bit up here and then go back to my roots, and then now like moving a little bit random. So I wonder if there is a way that you suggest to approach our experiences, or everything that comes, just embrace it.
The journey is a continuous journey. We are always having the experiences, and this is the thing, we're actually all having the experience of everything. However, it doesn't give us meaning because you're not grounded, because you're not embodying your personal energy. So what happens is that when your energy sits outside of yourself, you are very much part of the collective, and you are being driven by the collective. You are being pulled along by the collective. So as much as you want to actually achieve certain things in your life, you can't, because your energy is not rooted anywhere. So, and this is why I use the symbolism of the tree. to ground people, to understand we live on this earth, so we must be connected to the earth. We're already connected to everything, okay? That's a given. From the day we're born, we are connected to everything because we are part of the all that is. So really the journey on earth is remembering we are part of the all that is. But, through our experiences and mainly through the conditioning and cultural beliefs and traditions, we created separation from our being. And so therefore, we've been taught that everything around us, outside of us, is something we need to achieve. But it's actually inside of us because we came from the universe and the universe lives inside of us. And that is our reconnection to the multidimensional. But we're living here on earth. So therefore, our energy must sit in our body. If you like, this is the space suit. And basically, when we leave the spacesuit, basically this is the rocket, and then when we leave the rocket, we're like Major Tom floating around in the space. We're not anchored anywhere. And so in order to really effect change, our energy must sit in our body because it is the activation, the expression and the activation of the codes within our being. That is our multidimensional, that is our mastery. And so we think, because this is the way we've been conditioned, we have to learn everything. And the unfortunate thing is that there's a lot of things we have unlearned because of this learning of knowledge. But really the knowledge lives inside of us. And that's why the inner child work is quite important, to remember yourself from that place of innocence, wonder, and adventure. This is what, if we watch little children, every day is like a wondrous day. It's an adventure. They're curious. And this is something that we've kind of moved away from. So the inner child is key to our creativity, is also key to our multidimensional and our mastery. Because when we came in, we remembered all of that, and we were just waiting to grow into the being to be able to execute that. And if you see the new babies being born now, this younger generation, they're so switched on. They know. And they're a lot more willful than perhaps we were. I know I was a willful baby, I think. But with that came a lot of trauma of being so, willful anyway. And so coming back to the understanding, these children understand who they are and why they're here. And so with the more expanded consciousness of parents these days, there is more allowance, but there is still way too much emphasis on teaching children. And I would really love to see that just taken out of the equation. It's more about guidance and support for the children. We witness their growth. We support them in their expression, in the different ways that they need to express, because it's understanding we all have different gifts. And so we're not all academic. We're not all intellectual. We're not all linear in that way. Most of us are very creative and kinesthetic. We need to bring that into the equation more so that we're more balanced and harmonized in everything that we're actually doing. And so really, I don't know where I'm going with this now, but it is the practice of actually reconnecting to your own inner child, because that's where your joy is. That's where your magic is. And for many adults especially, they're afraid to go there because they remember their trauma. And so it's understanding the trauma has already happened, but the only reason why it keeps happening is because you're making that small child carry it, rather than saying to the child, come to me, be with me now, see how I've grown, be part of the future now, here with me, rather than pushing it away, trying to suppress it, trying to forget it. It's about actually embracing it, because it can't hurt you anymore. It really can't hurt you anymore because it's already happened. But we keep repeating it because this part of your energy wants to feel expressed and wants to feel accepted. That's all. This energy wants to come back to you, but we're effectively pushing it away because of our perspective of what happened at that time. We didn't have the tools, we didn't have the knowing, we didn't have the support of how to just embrace and love ourselves with compassion. We understand this from a very mental, intellectual stance, but now we need to practice it on ourselves first, so it can actually be a very real resonance when you're around people. And so that is the importance of the grounding and of embodying your energy, because unless you're fully embodied in your energy, you're not in creator energy. So none of your feelings are bad or wrong. They just are. They are part of your soul expression. How the other person feels is actually none of your business. It's your business to do your own alignment. You're allowed to have a difference of opinion. And I feel this journey here on earth right now is a journey of acceptance. First of all, self-acceptance. Because when we can accept ourselves and our differences, then we can accept everyone else's differences. And that's the harmony, and that's the creativity, and that's the collaboration of the big jigsaw puzzle of what life is presenting right now. There's something for everyone, you know, we're not meant to do it all. And we shouldn't ask people to be exactly like us, you know, because we're all different. We're meant to be different. And so that's what I would suggest, is to really get to know your own feelings through the inner child. You know, many who are parents, they already have children. So it's like you've just got one other child now. And it's very interesting to witness families, you know, like when there's a lot of disharmony in the family, it's always blamed on the children. But the children, all they're doing is picking up the energy that the parents have left in the space. And because they know how to express, they're showing their parents what needs to be expressed. And then they get blamed for it, you know, because children are very loving, they're very unconditional. And so they can see that mummy and daddy have dropped their feelings. And so they go and pick it up. And you ask them, why do you do that? And they say, because we love you. That's what children do. And so we've learned to do this from a very young age. We learn to pick up other people's feelings and we carry them. And then we end up expressing them because we know what energy is. It's going through us. So now we're expressing it. But the thing is that it's not empowering yourself. You're disempowering yourself by carrying someone's energy that is not actually feeding you. And you're actually taking away from that person. So therefore, it's just understanding we've got to come to a place of having more empathy. In other words, I can feel you, but I don't have to pick up your energy. I can feel you and I can love you and support you for what you're going through right now. It's not bad, it's not wrong. It's the projections that make it bad and wrong, if you like, if we're going to use that word. And so once we understand that when you don't pick up the person's energy, but you're just coming from that space of pure love and compassion, they will feel received. So in this lifetime, I'm seeing a lot of people don't know how to receive one another. They don't know how to hold space for one another. Because if you haven't dealt with something and someone's showing you a lot of pain, you're going to be looking at them with your back because it's too painful to see. Because the world is a mirror. Everything is being mirrored back to you. And so therefore, if something painful is coming up and it's triggering the pain within yourself, you're likely to just turn away and go, okay, but you're not actually receiving them. So it's to be, you know, that's what we mean when we do the alignment. We can stand and be the tower of light and love that we truly are. And that is truly receiving another person, not by sympathizing, not by picking up their energy, not even telling them what to do, just listening, deep listening without the judgments. And you can only get to that place if you've done the inner work yourself. And the person will go away feeling okay for about so long, but then that's why people are looped into their hurt and trauma, that they keep repeating it. They keep repeating this story because they desperately want to connect to the energy, but they're afraid of it. And so that's why we use the inner child concept, is to understand we're now creating space. And so what I tell my clients to do is to use a cushion or use a doll or something and talk to that child as the feeling. Because when you're talking to the feeling as a child, you don't become the feeling. Many people become the child, they become the victim. But if you give it space, that's where the alchemy is. Because the feeling is only one ingredient. For example, this is anger. You're not angry, you just feel angry. And in the space, okay, this is the space, you now add the love, you now add the compassion. And then it alchemizes and it becomes something else. It becomes the understanding, it becomes the joy, the acceptance. That's what we're doing. We're alchemizing the energy. First of all, you've got to acknowledge it, accept what was, because it's already happened, what was. And you're saying, it's okay, that's how you felt. You have a right to those feelings. I can now, because you're the adult, I can now support you with love and compassion. This is from a long time ago. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just how you feel. And we can feel this for as long as we need to, because that allows the energy to safely come back to you and through you so it can be alchemized. So that's the first thing. Yeah, understanding that grounding means to embrace your energy, which is also acknowledging your feelings and just allowing. And to understand that when you become more embodied in your feelings, then you are a true mirror of love and compassion. So every word that you're speaking, they will feel you deeply. They will feel your resonance. And that is really the cross-pollination of healing. Even your presence alone can be healing for someone. Just acknowledging their being is enough sometimes. You know, it's not so much about doing, but it's really about holding, supporting, allowing your energy to be what it needs to be in this moment in time.
Thank you, Alyse. And a thing that I wish to share based on your sharing is that the inner work to me is also something that is going on for the rest of your journey into this experience of life. Is not a one-off and then you sort your problem, which is something that initially, before I started my own journey as well, I thought that I was going to heal myself with one session and that's it. But what I realized is that this is something that is continuing going on and on and on, and we can keep on seeking support if we feel like that we need to reinforce our energy and to share it with someone as well. But yeah, it's not something that we can do overnight and then we are sorted for the rest of our life and we are enlightened. So it's something that I really wish to acknowledge. And possibly based on that, my next request for you is if there is a way that people might wish to connect with you, although there is this possibility of listening to the podcast, is not a direct connection that I can have with you. So if there is some particular platform that you are mostly on, that people might reach out to you and might um, get to know you better, ask you question, or even participate to upcoming events, if there is anything that you wish to share so that people can get to know you face to face, get to talk to you, even if it's not going to be face to face, which is the best way for them to be directly connected with you?
So I have a website where there's a lot of information, and you can contact me through my website, www.youngalyse.com. And Alyse is spelled Alyse. yeah, I'm happy to field any inquiries or questions through the website. And I also have a Facebook account, just my name, Alyse Young. And I will post a lot of things about any events, interesting videos, discussions, any of that sort of thing can be done either through my website or Facebook account. So yeah, I keep things very, very simple because life is actually very simple. And I think that's what we need to understand, is that if we simplify our lives, declutter our lives from distractions, we become very attuned. We become very guided and attuned to how we need to move, where we need to be, and what needs to be done. For example, I woke up the other morning, and it wasn't by design of my wanting or wishing to, but I was in the process of writing up a post about an event I was going to put on, and then I ended up writing a completely different post about reharmonizing the weather. And I'm typing this up, and I'm thinking, am I really typing this? And it was so interesting because as much as, and I don't sort of block those sorts of things coming in, I just allow it. And then after I'd written it up, I was so surprised by what I actually wrote, but even more so was, am I really going to post this? I happened to have my friend and colleague staying, and I went up to her and I showed it to her, and she got all excited. She says, "Oh, go girl, we're going to do this." And so that was what I call a very spontaneous moment from my point of mastery. It was, if I had to sit down and think about it, I'd probably go, "Oh well, yeah, I could do that, but nah, yeah, nah," But my soul had pushed it forward, and and because I was in that space of surrender, let's see what's showing up now. And I allow my soul, my higher self, my super consciousness to work through me. This is what happened. And this is what I find, is that when you become more connected to yourself, you will be so strongly guided that you can't really back away from it. And that's really where I want to see people getting to, that place now of their own inner knowing that this is right for me right now. And when you execute it, you just get this amazing flow and response. And that's what I found, was that it was an unplanned event, and it was so well received and very successful in the end. And that's what I'm noticing. I'm trying to plan my year, and it's just not happening. The things that I've planned so far have already collapsed. And so all I can do is just set intention, and I do this at the most a month. People have already booked me in for certain things, but I can see them already falling off. I'm not going to say no to them, but if the soul and the universe have a bigger plan, then that's the one that I'm going to lean towards. And it's like, it's so magical when you actually surrender to that, because then you start to realize, I'm coming from a really deeper space and within my being. I didn't even know I was capable of that, but look what I just did. And that to me is really exciting. So as I said, through my website or my Facebook page, you can get hold of me. I also post up any events on my website, and there is lots of information on the website. I do a monthly e-letter that I send out to subscribers, and with that I always include various other people's perspectives as well, because it's all about just sharing as much information, because some information will resonate more with others, and like, we're all different. So the idea is to just allow as much different perspectives to come, so that maybe one will drop in for you.
Thank you so much, Alyse, for that. I will also add all these links in the description of the episode, so people will just access by clicking on them, and will be easier. But thank you for sharing. I know that some people might resonate with other types than the one that are more accustomed, such as social media. So thank you for sharing that.
I will add though, on my website, I do have the grounding exercise on SoundCloud. For those of you who are very airy, fairy, or like have are sort of ungrounded in the way of their spacey, bumping into things, craving sugar, lacking energy. If you experience the grounding exercise and you find that your energy sits in your body more and that you're getting a better response, I do suggest that you practice this on a daily basis until you get to know your energy, because you will find that you're going to have a lot more, I don't want to say control, you'll be more in charge of your own energy and your creations. So that is on my website, the link to that. And also I do have a book called Talk to Me, which also gives you really practical visualizations and understanding in the book. If you want a copy of that, you have to get it through me because that's the only way you can get it. But these are, tools that you can already start with. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for these tools. I probably, if you wish, also add those two links, like the one of Talk to Me, the book, and the one of the grounding practice, so that people can go straight away from those links and access to those two pages specifically, if you wish. And
Okay.
just before we conclude our conversation, I know that today we have a limited time. I would like to ask you one final question that is actually a three-part, if you wish. We always conclude the session by me asking you if there are three empowering messages that you wish to share with our audience. But those three empowering messages might also be gift for yourself and to me in the space, so that we could keep on raising our energy by whatever you wish to share.
Okay, I would highly encourage that people practice and understand what grounding means, to embrace your energy, whether it's through the inner child or just learning to acknowledge your feelings as and when they're coming up. And just to say to yourself, oh, okay, I'm feeling sad right now and it's okay. That's just how I feel. Because in that moment, your energy will just support you, okay? If you suffer from anxiety or fear, just simply saying, there is fear right now and it's okay. I am loved and I am safe. You say everything 3 times to connect to the mental level, the emotional level, and the spiritual level. Okay, that's why we say affirmations 3 times. The other thing I would highly suggest is to practice more stillness, because the times are very fast right now. And I know it sounds like a contradiction, but the more time you allow yourself stillness allows for recalibration. That is the firing of your DNA. And this can only be done in the space of stillness. For people who are getting sick all the time, it's probably because the body wants to stop and recalibrate. That's why you get sick, all right? So stillness is a gift because it allows you to feel and to hear yourself very deeply. And it might feel like a scary thing for some people, but just sitting in nature, just 10 minutes, just sitting and observing nature, just feeling the nature, looking into the sky, seeing the ocean, just being part of nature will actually help to recalibrate you, but bring you back to yourself as well. The third thing I would recommend is to be very open and flexible in the way that you hear things or sense things, to really be in the space of wonder again, because we are moving in a very different time. It's a very important time of making choices now of how you wish to live and create your reality, and to understand that you have a choice, that those laws and customs and traditions that are given to you by other people, is this really in your alignment? And to make your choice from that stance. Like, I know that a lot of people worry about their families and friends and all of that, wanting to be part of that. But really, this is a time of you coming into who you are, because we are the pioneers of a new time. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alice. Once again, I felt like goosebump. I always use this possibility to embrace the messages for
Mm.
myself first, and of course, then hopefully it might be inspiring also for everybody who is listening right now. So thank you for your wisdom, for sharing your words and sharing who you are, and possibly inspire others to embrace their journey for themselves. And I definitely started my one too, thanks also to my connection with you. So thank you for your presence, and thank you for your sharing.
Thank you. I'll add to that, because that's really important what you just said. It's really, really important to pay attention to your body, because your body always, always speaks to you. And it'll be through impulses, it'll be through goosebumps, it'll be through hot and cold. You have to figure out how your body is speaking to you, and to really pay attention to you, because that is your cursor to actually move in a certain direction. It means this is right for you. So I always say to people, if you're hearing something, seeing something, experiencing something, and you can feel an expansion in the body, energy moving in the body, that's a good thing. If you're feeling an implosion or constriction, closing down, it means that you are out of alignment somewhere. And that's where you actually have to bring and open up to come back into divine alignment with your being and your blueprint. So thank you for that feedback. Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, and thank you for adding this part as well. It's very important, I think, nowadays, especially to recreate that connection with our body that is doesn't seems like something that everybody's aware of, and it's very good to remind ourselves that we need to recreate this connection instead of the disconnection with our body. So thank you for that, and thank you so much for being here with me today and for inspiring hopefully as many lives as possible. And I wish to everyone a wonderful day, and to you too, Alice. Thank you for your presence and thank you for your time.
I'm in total gratitude for your service and love. Thank you for this beautiful sharing that you're offering, to everyone who actually gets to see or hear this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice, and enjoy your day.
Yes, you too. All
Thanks.
right.
Grazie per averci fatto compagnia. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you wish to stay updated and connected, visit us on our social media channels and our website www.artyoga.co. Ci sentiamo presto. Ciao! See you!